What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for yet another panel show. We've got two returning guests to the panel today. Mr. James Black, the voice of Spurs. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you guys? You all right?
Yeah, not bad. Just trying to figure out why Spurs keep dropping leads and what's going on at the moment. But apart from that, happy days.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'm good. A little bit cold, but I'm all right.
Good to see you back here, though. And Ashmatic, how you doing, my brother?
Yeah, man. It is a bit nippy, to be fair, It's not much yet. We've got about 4 more weeks, I reckon. 4 to 5 more weeks, and then we can kind of take the gloves off. Yeah. We can look forward to the spring. But yeah, otherwise, I'm good, guys. How are you guys?
Yeah, not bad, man. Not bad. We've got a lot to talk about today, so we'll get straight into it. And we're going to start off talking about why Spurs are not holding on to these leads. Obviously, we saw what happened at Everton. 2-1 up until the last minute, and then that free kick comes in, needless free kick to give away from Dejan Kulusevski. But it does carry on a bit of a theme this season where we are struggling to hold on to leads at times. We'll start off with you, James. Why do you think that is?
I think recently, not to give them excuses, but I think obviously with these injuries, you kind of starting the bench players that you'd bring on when you want to hold on to the lead. So you're starting like your Højbjergs and players like that you'd probably bring on to hold on to leads. Maybe it's a bit of that. I think there's the lack of, that's a lot of energy to play handball. And I think towards the end, they might be tired from that. That twinned with not having we have got it now, obviously with Sonny back as well, but not having the depth that we had. I think it's elements of bit of both and needs massive work on. So hopefully we see more of that once, as we've seen so many times, we don't hold on to lead. I'm sure Ange's savvy to it and looking at ways to stop it. But I think it's a mixture of all that, not having the strength and depth of bringing on your players to hold on to the lead and the energy from playing handball.
Ash, do you think it is a major problem that what's going on at the moment? Because obviously it happened at Everton, but before that, it hasn't been happening too often. There was one at Aston Villa. I think we went 1-0 up that game. And then Wolves just before that when we conceded 2 in the last minute.
Well, we've dropped 18 points this season from leading positions.
Is it a problem, Ash?
I think it's down to the characteristics of the individuals we have on the pitch and their skill sets. So what I mean by that, Højbjerg, for me, when he's on the pitch, and sometimes a little bit Bentancur, we can rush the play. So I remember at the start of the season, we were doing patterns of play where we kind of slowed it down a little bit, and it wasn't so rush. And I do understand why Ange is trying to get those balls over the top into like your Werner's. Werner's always free, kind of get into that front three and trying to attack them. But I think sometimes we lose possession because we lose control of the game, in my opinion. And I think sometimes, and I know fans hate this as well, by the way. So let me just get it out there. People hate the sideways passing. People hate the backwards passing. But at times, I feel like it's a small tactic, which is a necessary evil when you're trying to control a situation, when you're trying to hold on to a lead, or you're trying to push the players up the pitch. So there's times when I think you do little 1-2s, little triangles, just to draw the teams out, if that makes sense. Or if we're playing out from the back, and it's risky because like you wouldn't normally play out from the back and take risks, but we're doing it, and that's where we're losing the ball. You want to take the risks higher up the pitch. Sometimes we're not doing that even, and teams are just sitting back, getting congested and saying Spurs want to do, 1,000 passes before, we penetrate that box. But for me, it's about that game intelligence, knowing when to do it and knowing when not to do it. And I think sometimes we're too hurried, we're too like eager beaver to get that ball in, if that makes sense. Like, get that ball over the top, get it into Johnson, get it into Richie's feet, blah, blah, blah. And then we end up losing possession and control of the game. And then the other team they've got their game plan. They want to go direct, but they're used to going direct. And I think we're mishmashing styles. And that's the reason why, and we're mishmashing teams as well. And that's the reason why we're not quite controlling games, or we're losing at the last minute. We've got players that maybe at the start of the season, they were doing the 1-2 passes and keeping it tight. And then now we've got other players that might do the long ball over the top, in and behind, a bit like Liverpool, like how they go direct. So it's like Ange ball. I think the chemistry between like a Basuma, a Sarr, and a Maddison is slightly different to maybe like a Maddison, a Bentancur, and a Højbjerg, if that makes sense. So it just depends on who's on the pitch. Like I even saw Madison say at a post-match after, I think it was, I forgot who it was. I think it was Brentford. It was his first game back. And he was like, sometimes I'm in a space and I see someone else in my space. So that tells me that natural flow, that natural chemistry isn't quite there. Things that happen instinctively aren't quite there. And I feel like the same with Bentancur. When he's on the pitch, sometimes he's rushing it. Where normally Bentancur is smooth, you know what I'm saying? He's taking his time, he's getting a touch on the ball first, and then he's making that pass. But now it's like he's trying to hit that ball in quick, and then we're losing that vital possession in midfield. Teams are hitting us, and then we're panicking. Even when we lost that ball, everyone's blaming Kulusevski, but Richarlison rushed out with it, didn't he? He rushed out with it, lost possession. Then Kulu tried to win the possession back. Then the free kick happened. Then we got punished, and there was a lack of concentration at the back when we changed. Remember, my man Dragonson, he come in, he's brand new. So he's all learning the Premiership. He doesn't know where to be positioned. Like he knows where to be positioned, but he's understanding his two teammates. Like and Van der Ven, I know he's played in the back three. I know Romero's played in the back three. But with these players, have we played with the back three? It's all kind of new, and these little nuances happen in games, and every game's slightly different. And I think that's why it's hard to underpin why Spurs aren't quite clicking or why it's not quite working at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, Sim, do you think it's a case of probably just because of how stop-start this season has been, and it's been like not a settled 11 throughout the majority of the season? The majority of these games where we've dropped points did come in that period where, you know, we're playing Emerson Royale and Ben Davis at the back, and we just didn't have a fluid 11.
I think that's definitely a part of it. I think how Ange sees the game, right? I think if you watch Man City against Brentford on Monday night, you saw once they went 3-1 up, they just controlled the game through possession. They just passed it around, as Ash is saying, making little 1-2s, making space for each other. Brentford didn't even know where to press because there were so many places they had to basically press Man City. The Man City were just able to pass around them, find the possession. They were able to control the game that way, just through pure technique and managing the game. I think that's what Ange is trying to do. I think that's what Ange wants to do. But the problem is, as James was saying, which is absolutely right, we have a lot of our first team and technical players out at the moment. So we're ending the game with a 3 at the back. We're ending the game with Skip and Sarr as our midfield too, and the front three are, even on our best day at the moment, aren't very good at keeping the ball. So it is leading to Ange wanting to Ange doesn't want to basically be a time waster, manage the game that way, which maybe the players on the pitch, that's what he should be doing. But that's not his philosophy. His philosophy is he wants to try and see out the game like Man City see out the game, with that pure technique, pass the opposition to death. But we didn't have the players on the pitch to do that. So we're trying to pass around Everton, we're trying to keep the ball, and we're trying to basically pass them, see out the game that way. Yeah, we're doing it with Skip and with Sarr and with Johnson or Brian Hill and Richarlison, who just aren't very good at passing, moving, keeping the ball, having that game intelligence on the pitch to kind of see out the game that way. And it's leading to, when we're under pressure and when teams are basically upping their game in the latter stages of the game because they know they've got to make a last ditch push to try and get a point, we're unable to hang on to the ball and we're putting ourselves under pressure, because actually what we're really doing is playing a risky game. Because Man City, the way they play, where they pass the ball to death, it's a risky game, but they're so good at it that they're able to pull it off and make it look easy. But actually, it's not very easy, because it relies on you being extremely have extreme quality technically, and it relies on you being very good with your close control, being very good weight of pass, all these different things. And the players that we're using to see out these games don't have those kind of qualities, and that is a big problem when you're trying to, especially when you have only a 1-goal lead. But look, if we'd killed off the game and scored that third goal in that second half, I don't think we'd be having this conversation. But the fact of the matter is, we didn't get that third goal. The last 10 minutes we're only 2-1 up, and we put ourselves under pressure with the way we play. Ange doesn't want to just go long, take it to the corner flag. He wants us to keep going, try and get that third goal and try and kill off the game and try and see out the game with our quality. But at the moment, with the squad that we have, with the injuries that we have, we're just not able to do that. If we had Basuma available, if we had Maddison and Bentancur fully fit, if we had maybe Kulusevski in good form, maybe it's a different situation. But right now, that's not the case. So we're ending the game with these players who don't have the technical ability that is required to see out the games in the way that we're trying to see out the games, and that's what I'm trying to. That's my point. And then obviously we're giving away set pieces as well in stupid positions, maybe because we're a young, sometimes naive team at the latter stage of the games. We're giving encouragement to the team, and when you do that, that gives them that like a kind of encouragement to push you even further, win those set pieces. And we're not the best at defending set pieces, and also obviously why we ended up succumbing at the end of the day. So it is a problem that Ange has to sort out, but I do believe it will be rectified once the technical level of the squad is heightened even more, where the bench players, even players like Lo Celso, can come off the bench and up that technical level as well. I think that will happen once the squad is more fully fit. Hopefully that problem will be rectified.
You cast your mind back to the first 10 games of the season, right? We were seeing out games. We were looking good in the latter stages of games when we had our first choice 11. Bissouma at the base, Sarr and Maddison were controlling things in the midfield. I think it's all down to the injuries and the way the squad has gone throughout the season, and just the amount of injuries that we have had and suspensions, and now the Asia and the AFCON as well. And I do feel like once we get that settled team back, we'll start to look a lot more confident and assured in games.
Do you think, though, as well, though, just sorry to cut you, that at the start of the season, we played the majority of the teams in the kind of lower half of the table. Now we're playing teams in the more top half of the table. I know we beat Liverpool with the late winner and the deflection.
We drew with Arsenal as well.
We knew we drew with Arsenal and Man U. I'm not taking that away from it. But outside of that, when we played the teams in the second half of the table, we've either drawn with those teams, or we've kind of like lost, like Wolves, Brighton, some of those teams there. Obviously, like I said, Newcastle, Man United, we got results, but maybe like those teams where we have to kind of have a different approach, we haven't quite figured it out yet. Do you think that's got something to do with it?
I don't even think so, Ash, though, because you look at it, right? The Chelsea game, that's when it all started to go wrong with the crazy injuries that we got in that game. We were battering Chelsea that game before all that started to go wrong. We would have won that game, in my opinion. You go, and then from then on, we just didn't have a settled team throughout the whole season. I think if we put that settled team at Molineux, I think we go and win that game. Aston Villa, even without a settled team, I think Bentancur looked flying in those first 20 minutes, and I thought we looked really good. So I genuinely believe that if we would have had this settled team throughout the whole season, we'd be talking about a different Spurs. And up until a couple of weeks ago, we was talking like if that Chelsea game didn't happen, we'd be sitting top of the league.
Yeah, and I think if you can't play Angeball without having someone like Mickey van der Ven at the back either, the way that we're playing, having that exposure behind is crazy difference to Emerson Royal and Davis done well there to fill in, but they're not natural in that position. And that speed of him, I think he just come out as the fastest player in the league at the moment. That was what was keeping it together as well at the back from it. And losing that, there's an image, isn't there, when Van der Ven's hobbling off and Maddison's coming off. But all was missing was a knife in the back of Postecoglou in that very picture, and you see where it starts to fall apart. So yeah, I agree. I think that was a massive turning point.
And I also think we have a bit of an issue in our front three when it was, I mentioned before, but we're ending the game right with Hill, Richarlison, and I think it was Kulusevski in the front three against Everton. And Everton, right at the end of the game, they're pushing up. They're putting more caution to the wind. And the benefit for a team like Spurs in that position is if they're going to put more caution to the wind, they're going to leave more space for you to exploit. But if you get the ball to them and they've got acres of space to run into, those aren't the players to really exploit that. And it led to them losing the ball consistently, and the ball just kept coming back, and we weren't able to sustain any sort of pressure on Everton in the latter stages, which meant Everton were able to pile the pressure on us, and we succumbed to that pressure. And maybe now we've got Son coming back. We've got Solomon hopefully in a month, but forget Solomon. We've now got attackers who hopefully can come off the bench and provide a threat, rather than the attackers that we had who just weren't able in that position to kind of exploit the space that the opposition were going to leave once they're chasing the game. Yeah. And that can be an issue.
Yeah, I completely agree. But Ash, you wanna just finish off on what you were saying before, or you want to respond to that comment?
No. I've literally thrown out, because you know, we're very close to our fully fit team.
Yeah.
And like, it would have been interesting to see what it would have looked like against some of those teams. And I do agree with you guys, the points that you brought up and you've made. I just worry that, you know, we get to the full strength team and then all of a sudden we're still not putting them away. And then we're like, then what is it now? What is it now? Because remember, Van der Ven and Romero came back. I expected us to start like climbing the table, but it hasn't happened. Then Maddison came back because I thought, maybe it's Maddison. That's what it is, guys. It's Maddison. Maddison came back in and like, oh man, we're still not quite ticking.
Sonny to come back, Ash. Don't worry, Sonny to come back.
That's what I'm trying to say to you, my guy. I'm not trying to be that. I'm not trying to be that guy that obviously puts a downer on things. But I was like, when he gets back. When he gets back.
I would say though, we've got a different Bentancur in a minute and a different Maddison. They haven't quite hit form from before, so I think it's not the players coming back; it's the form of the players coming back, and maybe they need a few games to reintegrate. And we don't know what Angebal's like to play, especially coming back from an injury. It might be like it must be.
You know what? All I was going to say to that was like, obviously Romero came back, and like he did improve the team. I felt when he did come back. And then Van der Ven came back as well. And I agree. But I think Van der Ven just looked exceptional since he's come back. I think one game when he was like, meh. And then the other games, he's just like on it, like best defender in the league. And but we still lost against Everton. So I'm like,
we drew, Ash. We drew.
It felt like a loss.
Felt like a loss, yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? It was 2 points dropped.
Ash, we cut the gap to the top to 7 points. I don't know what you're chatting about.
I'm moving mad still. I can't lie. But
the set pieces though was their only threat, wasn't it? Really, where Van der Ven
it was. But I think that was their go-to. That's Sean Dash all over for you.
More of a lottery, isn't it?
But we still didn't handle it. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I'm hoping, I'm optimistic that, like you guys said, it's a case of they're coming back from injuries. It's a form thing as well. Like once their form kicks in, then we're going to be back to where we were and we'll be out bossing teams. We'll start getting those results. And then if that is the case, then I'm expecting, I don't know. What are you guys thinking?
Well, look, for me, Ash, I know we've had all these players back and it's been really positive. But if you look on Saturday, you look at the bench still, right? It's still who we got to bring on. Brian Hill's coming on. Ollie Skip's coming on to see out these games. It's still a bit of an issue when it comes to getting that second win in the latter stages of games to kind of have the quality with the energy which we have. And I think once we're able to like bring on, let's say we're starting with a midfield of Basuma, Sarr and Maddison again, all of a sudden you can bring on a Bentancur and a Højbjerg off the bench rather than starting them. Once we have Son, Rishi and, I don't know, Kulusevski like we did before, then you can bring on a Werner, you can bring on a Johnson off the bench instead of them starting and not having any options. So all of a sudden, instead of bring on like a Brian Hill to try and see out a game, you'll bring on different quality of player to see out the game and give you a second win. And I think that's going to be massively beneficial. And I think James is absolutely right as well. Just because they're back fit and available, does that mean they're necessarily match fit straight away and at the top of their game? I think give Maddison a game or two, give Bentancur a bit more time as well. And even the centre-backs, Romero and Van der Ven, even though they've been back for a bit, they still need to get to get back into their rhythm and all that kind of stuff because they've been out for a while. So I think just because they're straight away back doesn't mean it's going to instantly click straight away. They still need time to build up their match fitness, get back into the rhythm, and then we'll see. They'll see them at their best. I really believe that.
And I think people also need to remember that we're a work in progress. You know, this is the first 6 months of Ange Postecoglou, and I think actually, when you look at it, we're further along at this stage than probably a Man City was when Pep Guardiola first came, or a Liverpool were when Jurgen Klopp first came. Most definitely an Arsenal were when Mikel Arteta first came. So I think there's a lot of reasons to be looking forward to this second half of the season. Go on, Ash.
Bringing on a fresh Werner, like what you just said just then, Sim, that's mouth-watering, isn't it? Bringing on a fresh Werner when their players are tiring, that is a great point.
Yeah, and also bringing on Ivan Perisic in those first 10 games was so important for us. In how many games did he come on and just relieve that pressure, get good crosses in the box? And we missed that massively. Sorry, Ash.
Yeah, no, that's cool. The only worry is for me is I feel like some players, they need that regular playing time. They need that consistency. And I'm just hoping that Werner is that player we can just bring on and then he's booming as a super sub, as opposed to like Werner just needs as many games as possible, and he needs to keep that rhythm up for him to come good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, like Richie. Richie's a prime example. Richie was stinking out the place. We gave him an arm around the shoulder. We listened to his mental health issues, and then we started playing him. No matter what happened, we played him. Then he started repaying the faith. He started scoring the goals. And he's a player, like, I feel like if you dropped a Richie now and then you tried to bring him on a super sub, I'm not sure if that would work. Like, I feel like he's that type of player. He consistently needs to start playing many minutes, many games in a row to find his rhythm. And I'm just hoping that's the same with I'm hoping that's not the same, with like a Werner. Like, we could just bring him on and like Son comes off and he still has that same level, not maybe as a Son level, but he's got enough in him to kind of affect the game when they've got tired legs and we start winning. Because I do agree with you guys. I think that has been an issue, and that has been the reason why our bench has been weak. Do you know what I'm saying? Our bench has been weak. But now when everyone's coming back, all of a sudden our bench is looking strong and we're looking like a stronger outfit.
Yeah, and you can argue, like, and maybe in the last few weeks, you know, there have been definitely games where the game management has been poor. Like, you look at Brentford, could have easily dropped points in that game late in the game. You look at Man United and Burnley; they both missed big chances right at the death to try and nearly get a draw in those games. Obviously, the Everton game, we did end up giving up the result, but maybe you could argue, yeah, Ange should, you know, in these periods shut up shop and he should adjust because we don't have the players to see out the game in the way he wants to. But this is kind of how he's learning about these players, about this team even now. And this is how you kind of judge whether these players can do what you need them to do. And once you see them on the pitch, like not being able to hold on to the ball in the 90th minute under pressure and all that kind of stuff, this is how he learns. If he just changes tactics to adjust to the players that he has available, he's not going to learn about these players he has available, whether they're up to it or not. Or maybe in the future, you know, he can decide, okay, actually this player I will keep because he can do what I'm asking him to. Or maybe this player isn't good enough because when these players were out and he stepped in, he wasn't able to do the things I was required while we were trying to see out these games. So yeah, you could argue maybe we would get different results if he changed kind of the way he's trying to see out games. But that's not what Ange is trying to do. He's trying to learn about this squad for the future, and it's going to benefit us in the long term.
I think the same. And is it a direct quote where he said there's no plan B, is to do plan A better? Is that a direct quote from him?
Yeah, I think so. I think from his Celtic days or maybe even before that.
Right. That's a little bit concerning, but I agree with Sim. And I think it'd be down to the personnel, and it's sort of showing if the player's right or not and getting the right player profile in the future by keep playing the way that he wants to play.
Yeah, because I've heard people say, like, I don't believe in this, by the way, but I've heard people say that he should drop the line further back. You know, he should stop. He should like be a bit pragmatic at times, you know, and that's just not Ange ball. And like you said, Sim, if he hasn't got the players for it, then he's gonna lose a couple games. But maybe that's what he was talking about. That this is the bump in the road. These are the bumps in the road that he's actually talking about. Because guess what? These players, they need to understand the style of football. I don't want to revert and then it sends mixed messages, and then players are like, hang on a second, I thought we were like attacking football or highlining. Do you know what I'm saying?
You're right.
And for him as a manager, it makes him seem softer if he's going back on his actual word as well. Like, do we believe what he says now? He's shutting up shop. So I agree. I think he needs to keep to his principles, and we might lose a few games, but you know, we just need to pattern up. We need to improve in that summer window and buy those right technical players for him that he needs to play the football that he wants to achieve the goals that we want as fans. Do you know what I mean?
This will help weed out which ones to replace as well, I think, won't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it gives him an excuse to go to the board, to go to the transfer committee in the summer and being like, look, these guys do not fit the system that I want to play. I need to bring in players that do fit the system. And it'll give them a bit more power as well.
Sorry,
exactly. No, 100%. You're right. Let's move on. Let's talk about Vicario now, because it's been seemed to me like a clear plan, especially latter stage of the Man City game, the Ake goal, especially the first half of that Everton game. Every corner seemed like it was a bloody penalty, the way they were smothering Vicario and literally just clearly targeting him. Do you think he's getting exposed at the moment, James?
It's a really tough one. That I think there's a mixture. I agree with what Ange says about the referees are told to leave it all and let VAR pick it back up at the end and pick up the pieces. I think there's a bit of that. I think, obviously, I would imagine the tactics was seeing what happened at Man City. So then they've targeted that exact area. So there's a mixture of that as well. Then I think he should be protected a little bit better by his own players. Maybe your Van der Vens and your Romero's getting in there, seeing the problem, being alert to it and going, hang on a minute, this just keeps happening. How do we protect him? And being stronger himself. I actually think it's an amalgamation of all of it, to be honest with you. It's not just one thing. One thing I do believe, we was talking about this the other day, the good thing about it is I do think it's quite an easy fix, though. I think it's in terms of, okay, let's hit this in training until he's got this. Like, he's an incredible player. And I think that seeing this now highlighted, I'd imagine they're training on this right now, knowing that Brighton are going to do the same rough tactic. They'll have ways to stop that. Who is the set piece coach for us? Is it Mason?
I know the attacking one is Mason. I'm not sure about defensive.
I don't know, but yeah, I think it's an amalgamation of all those things. But the good news is I believe it's quite a quick fix. Now it's been highlighted. But yeah, being protected by Van der Ven and Romero, they're beasts. So that would be, and even Dragusin, he's an absolute beast, isn't he? Yeah. So yeah, I don't think it's too much moving around to get that stopped. And I think the only thing that bothers me is, why didn't we look at that straight after Man City? I mean, you've seen that they've gone for that tactic. It's huge that we should be working on that. That's the problem for me, rather than the problem being for the rest of the season. It will be fixed, but why wait? Why not get on that? Yeah.
I guess one thing is that you're literally coming up against the best set piece team and the most physical side in the league in Everton, and it was always going to be difficult, defending set pieces against them. But I just don't understand it. When did this rule change? When the keepers don't get the benefits of the doubt from these situations? When was it okay to just keep backing into goalkeepers until they fall down? I just don't understand it.
I mean, neither. It seems to be the same. We were saying, we were watching down the pub, we were saying that same. And why are we not taking advantage of that up the other end? So why are we not talking about that and going, hang on a minute, it's happening to us. Let's get in on that. Yeah. I mean, Pickford's got tiny little arms, can't even touch the crossbar, can he? So why are we not getting involved in that?
Little T-Rex arms. Ash, what's your take? Do you think that Vicario's getting a bit exposed at the moment? Should he be more protected by the defence?
It's a hard one, because I don't know too much about zonal marking in terms of how you set up in that structure and set pieces. And I know like what to do versus man marking. Man marking, you'd push him off, wouldn't you? Stick a man on like a Harrison to avoid him from sticking his butt twerking into Vicario. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's a hard one. Like I definitely think they're doing zonal marking at the moment, and I think that's why no one's picked him up. But then it's down to the communication of Vicario and the communication of Romero being the captain of the centre backs or that back line. So between the two of them, one of them needs to be a leader, one of them needs to step up, because it's not like it happened once and then they scored. No. There was warnings. I was watching the game, I'm thinking, raw.
Yeah. One off the line as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, I'm like, you got to do something. Like someone on the sidelines, I don't know, the coaching staff, have a word, someone, because they're doing it again. And Dash, he looked like he was getting a hard on from it, because he's like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? But them man there, they weren't really reacting to it. And so, like the commentary, I was watching it, the commentary were like, yep, they're on Vicario, he's not doing nothing about it, blah, blah, blah. And the inevitable happened. Do you know what I'm saying? And I was very disappointed that no one said, look, Harrison's clearly backing into Vicario. We need an extra man here. Even though we're zoning, we might need to tweak. Like, you pick this man up, because, like, you know, it's going to be detrimental, and we're going to end up conceding. And it did happen. So I just want to see a little mixture of, do your zonal thing. And I understand why you do zonal, because you're trying to leave less gaps. You know, man marking, you get pulled out of position, and then all of a sudden it's a free header. Do you know what I'm saying? But there's advantages and disadvantages to zonal versus man marking. People can get the run on you in zonal. But I feel like really we hadn't conceded a lot of goals from corners. That's the wickedest thing. So it's a hard one. It's a hard one. But yeah, I do agree, man. I think something does need to change, and they do need to work on that, and they need to have a word. But it just needs Vicario. I felt against the City one, he needed to be stronger. And then there were certain times I'm like, he's not being strong enough. He needs to just, even if he because they're not going to give a penalty. I don't think they'll give a penalty if he pushes through a player and he punches and gets to it first. Do you know what I'm saying? If they're not going to give a free kick, they're not going to give a penalty either. So they just go all out and be that guy that we know you are, Venom. Like, be that guy in it and just grab that ball, win it back.
Sim, what do you feel? Do you feel like Vicario needs to be a bit stronger? Do you feel like he needs to get protected more from his defence, or is it just a mixture of both?
Yeah, I think there are two ways of looking at it. I think one way is if you don't want to commit a player just to protect Vicario and get in between Vicario and the player and stop the player back into Vicario, then it's absolutely on Vicario to be stronger and make sure that he's not getting bullied. He's pushing the player off him, and he's allowed to maneuver inside the box and able to come and claim crosses. Which, to be fair, it did feel like in the second half he did seem to rectify that, because he did come and claim a few corners in that second half. So maybe there was a change in tactic there, which is definitely beneficial. Definitely what is happening at the moment is the players are seeing that at the moment, that if they just stand their ground and slightly back in without making any movement too obvious, that if the referees let it go, VAR is not going to get involved. And we are definitely we're not actually the only team that has been on the end of this. I think Alisson's been on the end of a few. There was that Burnley keeper as well, James Trafford, who was on the end of one where maybe he could have given a foul, but the referee decided not to give it. So there's definitely a trend at the moment where referees are letting more go when it comes to challenges on the goalkeeper, or would I say challenges? Players are being a lot cuter with their movement. They're making sure to not make any obvious movement to kind of make the referee aware they're making a foul. What they're just doing is standing in front of the keeper, just being strong, standing their ground, and once the cross comes in, just slightly backing in, and that's all that's needed when a goalkeeper is going to jump and claim a cross. All you need is a slight nudge, and it can knock him off balance, and it can make it very, very difficult to come and claim the ball. So there's either Vicario has to be way stronger, has to make sure that before that cross comes in, he's pushing the player away from him to give him that space to, do what he needs to do, whether it be a punch or claiming a cross. Or we do need to commit a player, and we need one player to step up and get in between the opposition player and Vicario, making sure that he's not touching Vicario and he's not getting close to him and he's not putting Vicario off, and making sure he can't come and be strong from these corners. So we have to make a choice what we need to do. I think it would be better if Vicario can deal with it himself, just so it means that player that's then marking Vicario gets that player could be freed up to mark someone else, and maybe that means there's not going to be another free man in the box if we are committing a player to Vicario. But if Vicario is not able to do it, which would be a shame, it wouldn't be a good thing, then it means we do need a player to come and commit himself to making sure Vicario is helped in that situation. I see Brentford from their set pieces, they do that. They commit a player to making sure Flecken is not being bullied by an opposition player, no one's getting near him. And once you see it, once a player is getting near to Flecken, they barge him away, they push him away and make sure that they're not allowing it, basically. And maybe that's what we need to do when it comes to this Vicario situation. What we definitely know is this situation can't continue. We know that we can't allow players to continue to back into Vicario and that status quo to kind of continue where we're allowing him to be bullied, and it's costing us goals, and important goals as well. And it means, if a team get a corner in the 90th minute and they know that this is something we're struggling with, they're just going to try and exploit it. And it's definitely something that's going to add to anxiety within our defence and with the fans as well. Once we're just going to be shitting ourselves whenever we concede a corner. So this definitely can't continue, and it's definitely something that's being highlighted and being exposed at the moment. But hopefully this can be rectified now that it's clear as day it's a problem. This can't now not be dealt with, surely, because it's been an issue for the past few weeks now.
Yeah, as James said, I'm sure they've been working on this in training ever since that Everton game. They should have been working on it from the Man City game, to be fair, but that first half of Everton, should have sent alarm bells ringing. But look, like you said, it does seem like they did sort something out for the second half, because they were nowhere near as dangerous from corners in the second half as they were for the first half, and Vicario was coming and claiming a lot. But let's go on and talk about the Spurs midfield now, because it seems as though Spurs are chopping and changing a lot, the midfield, game by game at the moment. And maybe it is down to injuries. Pape Sarr is coming back now. Bissouma's coming back now, with Bentancur not really performing at the moment. James, what do you think Spurs' best midfield trio is?
I think we have to realise that the question itself is good because we've got that strength and depth back now, and we'll all probably have slightly different ones, I'd imagine, which is a great sign. It's tough. It's very tough because of who to leave out. I think the one bit of good news off it, really, or the strongest bit of good news, is you're going to see, I would imagine, better discipline from Basuma, knowing that once if he gets sent off, will he ever get back in a team?
Yeah.
Knowing that strength in depth is now there. So I think you'll see one good thing from the back of that. It's Bentancur's not quite at form, or we go straight in for me. Pape Sarr has been incredible since he's played here, but Maddison's dipping a bit. So yeah, it's all up in the air a little bit for me. But I would imagine the strongest for me, I'd probably to start against Brighton on Saturday. I would probably go Bentancur, Sarr, Maddison. That's what I'd probably go for. So 6, 8, 10 in that way. Purely because I don't think Basuma's quite there yet. I think he was rested quite. I think he wasn't played quite a lot in the African nations. I think he come on sub quite a lot throughout that. For me, Sarr's been incredible, and I think Maddison is probably, hopefully now, just at least 1 or 2 games maybe away from full fitness and full form. Bentancur, I think, but again, it's the same to what Ash is saying. I think if you keep playing, he will get back into form. You don't just lose that complete magic that Bentancur's got. So, I would go for Bentancur, Sarr, and Maddison. And I imagine bringing Basuma off the bench. That's incredible. And then it goes back to our first point about why we can't hold on to Leeds, and he's suddenly got that option. That's what I'd go for: Bentancur, Sarr, Maddison, with Basuma just on the edge to come on.
Ash, what are you looking at for this Sunday? And in general as well, what do you think our best midfield is?
Yeah, no, ditto. I'll echo every comment that James has just made. I think that in the 6, I think Bentancur, he's able to play out from the back, so he helps with our transitional play. He's very confident and slick on the ball when he's fully fit and when he's up to speed as well. And as I said before, sometimes you just need to trust in your better players. Give them time to find form, to find the rhythm, to build those relationships with maybe 1 or 2 players that they haven't had before, and they will come good. Him and Maddison, I'm sure, will be able to figure it out. So for me, Bentancur gives you that steal. A lot of people think, Bentancur should be an 8. And they'll say that about Basuma. Basuma should be an 8. But I just feel like in this system, we don't play your traditional roles anymore, in my opinion. This is more positional play. And that's the reason why we were the midfield looks so fluid. At times, we didn't even know who was playing where. I remember against Aston Villa, when it was Lensoso and Bentancur, it looked like a double pivot at times because they were interchanging so much. And even Maddison likes to drop in from deep. Maddison sometimes plays as that deep lining midfielder, and he's creating from further back. Or I remember the game against Burnley, he was playing as a fullback at times, picking up the ball and then working the ball up. And I just like that freedom and players just looking at where the space is and then attacking it. And then if that player is in your position, then obviously I'll jump in your position. And that's what Ange wants. He wants a system where he doesn't want to dictate. He's not like an Arteta and Conte where they're constantly fingers everywhere, do this, do that. He wants the guys to have the game intelligence, to have the football IQ, the spatial awareness, when to go, when to come short, when to go long. And I feel like that will come naturally, and we'll start to hold on to games and control games a lot better when that happens. And as I said before, and as James has already said, when you've got a Højbjerg coming on, I feel like Højbjerg's looked a lot better when he's come on as opposed to when he's starting. Yeah. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Put your Bentancur, trust in him because he is good at tackling. Make him the 6. He's a South American. He's tenacious. And sometimes, you know what? Romero will push high up because we play sometimes like a 2-3-5 in possession and we're in the opposition's half, that you allow Romero to come into midfield and Bentancur to go further up, even as a 6. We saw it with Basuma against Manchester United. He put Casemiro on his back like a beetle, feet were up like a bad bee. Do you know what I'm saying? When he did a little quest inside the box, you're like, raw, how come Basuma's so hard to pitch? So I can see Bentancur doing that. I can see Bentancur being higher up in that pitch. Remember, before Bentancur came back, everyone was like, Bentancur's going to take Basuma's place. Watch. Now Bentancur's back. People are like, nah, Basuma's going to take Bentancur's place. Watch. So I just think players just need time. And as we all said, he's coming back from an injury. For me, he's the 6th. The number 8 has to be Sarr. Even when he came on, I felt like we improved as a unit. I felt like we held onto the ball a lot more. He knows when to give and when to hold on. He's really good in tight areas. He can play as that fullback and he helps as that transition. And then he carries the ball up in midfield and then he keeps it simple. And when you keep it simple, you don't lose the ball. That's what happens. And then guess what? You get up the pitch higher up that way. You're not rushing it. You're not forcing it. And I think that's what all the scouts saw with Sarr. And they said, you've got a gem in your hands, because he can see the picture really quickly. He can make his mind up when to go, when to play it. And he's just an all-around good midfielder. That's the DNA of what you want in your midfielder. He's going to get those goals because I'm starting to see him ghost into the box as well now. I'm seeing him to start to pick up those areas where he's having a go. He's having a shot. Do you know what I'm saying? He's got 2 goals already. I'm sure he's going to add to that as well. So his physicality, his tenacity, he sometimes, again, I spoke about that 2 defensive midfielders or double pivot, I call it, 2 6s, whatever you want to call it. He does that. He can drop in, allow one of the midfielders to go, or sometimes he acts as a secondary marshal in that defensive place. And we need to win the ball high up the pitch. It's important that we win the ball high up the pitch. We do the turnover and we keep the pressure on. And he's really good at doing that. He's got the best of both, like a competitive nature and an attacking nature where he's good in possession. Then we go back to Maddison. For me, people are like, Maddison's looked slightly off it. I think he's looked like our best midfielder, I'll be honest. I love the way he drops the shoulder and he's patient. When the pass isn't on, Maddison won't let it go, you know. Maddison will not, if it's not on, he won't let it go. And he's looking to do the difficult pass. He's not looking to do the sideways pass or play it back. He's in the between the midfield and the defense. He's in that little pocket and he's trying to find a way to sting it into like a Richarlison, sting it into a Kulu or a Johnson, whoever's there. Do you know what I'm saying? And he's that kind of man that kind of threads it all together. And I love his bravery. I like his tenacious ability. And I love him that, you know, he's able to actually shoot. He's one of the midfielders that actually likes shooting. So I like that about him as well. It just wasn't quite coming off for him in the Everton game, especially in the second half. He had a couple of chances that Pickford saved. But I just feel, again, like come Brighton or come Wolves, we're going to see a different Maddison. Each game he's grown in confidence. Each game he's understanding the relationships of his teammates, where they're going to be. And he's getting that, you know, that natural instinct, like that you, because you've been out for a while, you kind of forget what it's like, you know, how the speed of the game is and all the rest of it. He came against Man City. Remember, Man City is a fast game. What a game to come back at. Like, do you know what I'm saying? He's come back. Then obviously we played Brentford. He's gotten a little bit better. And then obviously Everton's come along. And everyone's like, oh, he hasn't played as well. But it's to do with who he's playing with and how much, you know, he can impact that game. He always wants the ball. That's what I do love about him. So for me, the best midfield is, for Brighton anyway, would be that Bentancur, Sarr, and the Madders. Do you know what I'm saying? And I want to see Madders higher up the pitch this time, because I do love the fact that he has got the free roll. He's not like an Odegaard where he has to stay in one position. He roams off to the right. He can roam off to the left. He can drop deep. But I want to see him higher up the pitch, because I just think he's more of a threat when he's up there making those final balls, doing those key passes, or getting shots off at the edge of the box.
Ash, do you feel like we need like a proper specialized 6 in the summer?
I disagree with this appointment. The reason being is because, as I said before, it's positional play. It's no longer your traditional, a 6 stays in that position, the 6 stays there. I feel like before, that argument wasn't there, because Basuma was the highest midfielder with the most amount of tackles, most amount of interceptions, most amount of turnovers. Like, he was doing his job as a defensive midfielder. Everything, all the off the ball actions, Basuma was number 1 at. So I'm like, well, surely we don't need a number 6 if he's doing all the attributes that we need. But because we're not used to it, we're used to that Conte Mourinho kind of style where we sit behind the ball and you're used to that 6, or even like an attacking team, you're just used to that number 6 just sitting back and mopping. We don't really do that. We kind of interchange that kind of midfield, and that's the reason why we're using words like fluidity. And like, I know people want, I want that monster 6 that's going to crunch and be a destroyer. No, you need players that also have that technical ability, because if it's just a 6 that destroys, what if he can't go forward? Then how are we going to dominate games? How are we going to kind of like turn teams over, if that makes sense? So in my opinion, I think the 6th position is not necessarily like, we get another combative midfielder. I don't mind that. I'm not going to say no to it, but they have to be technical.
Yeah, 100%.
Is the problem, because if Højbjerg comes on the pitch, I can't say like, oh, Højbjerg's the most gifted technical player. Does that make sense? 100%. That's where I think that's what we're lacking. So if whatever player, I don't care who it is, just be defensive, be able to win the ball back, but also technicality is a must in that position anyway.
I agree with what both of you say. I think the midfield against Brighton has to be that midfield. Bentancur in the 6, Sarr and Maddison a bit further up. I don't think we have too many options with Bissouma just coming back and he's suffering with malaria. We don't know what state he's coming back in. But having said that, I would like to see us go back to that midfield that we had first 10 games of the season with Bissouma in the 6, Sarr on the 8 and Maddison in 10. I just felt like it gave us so much balance in that midfield. I felt all 3 of them just worked so well together and we were able to dominate games consistently time and time again. But then again, when we were in that moment of the team, we were like, oh, just imagine adding Bentancur to this midfield. Look how good we're going to be. So I actually think in terms of quality alone, our best midfield is probably Bissouma in the 6, Bentancur in the 8, and Maddison in the 10. But then again, it goes back to the point about Sarr, because Sarr adds so much balance to that midfield. He does the leg work, he does the running, he's got that energy for everyone. So I think, it goes back to what James was saying. It's such a great problem to have in terms of the options that we do have in midfield. But what are you looking at?
Yeah, I think, first of all, it depends on the opposition a lot. If you're playing, I think if we're talking about just purely best midfield 3, in my opinion, just based on quality, I do think I would love to see what Bissouma, Bentancur, Maddison could do together. I do think Bentancur could do that number 8 role once he's fully fit. We've seen him last season and last season mainly. He can be a midfielder who can cover a lot of ground. He can. He's a very hard worker. He's got a lot of energy, and I do think he's got more strings to his bow when it comes to his on-the-ball ability than someone like Papa Mate Sarr. Maybe Sarr can develop it. I'm not saying he's bad on the ball, but I just think Bentancur is his very best, and we've definitely seen more from him than we have from someone like Sarr. So I do think, in general, that's our best midfield 3. I think our best midfield 3 for now, given people's fitness and stuff, would probably be Bentancur in the 6 with Sarr in the 8 and Maddison in the number 10. But I also think what Ange would really like in terms of technical ability and ability to dominate a game and ability in the final third to just create as many chances as possible and be a real attacking threat would maybe be Bissouma or Bentancur in the 6 with Maddison next to Kulusevski in the centre, or even maybe next to Lo Celso, if he can get them working hard. Yeah, you can argue maybe it could ruin the balance of midfield, but if we could get one of those two, more specifically Kulusevski, because I do think he's
that'd be great against low
hard.
blocks.
That's what I'm saying. If you get against a low block, if you had a Bentancur or Bissouma next with Kulusevski and Maddison, it's going to be very, very difficult to stop for the opposition, because we're just going to have so many good attacking technical players on the pitch that if you can get them working hard and doing the work off the ball to make sure we're not exposed on the counter or going the other way, then going forward when we're putting our passing moves together and we're attacking the opposition, it's like they're not going to know where to look when it comes to trying to stop us. Right now, it's like if you can crowd Maddison out, it's going to be very difficult for us to create an opportunity, because it's difficult to look where else that creativity has come from. Even with Bissouma, Sarr and Maddison, it's good, don't get me wrong, and it was amazing first 10 games, but if you focus on stopping Maddison, all of a sudden you're looking around, it's like, where's the creativity coming from? But if you have a Bentancur with a Bissouma, with a Maddison and Kulusevski next to him, all of a sudden you can concentrate on stopping Maddison, but that's going to leave more space for Kulusevski to operate in, and that's going to add for more chances created. So I think if Ange, in his mind, had a perfect midfield in terms of if everyone was able to do the job off the ball, I think he would want that midfield: Bentancur, Maddison and Kulusevski. Now, the question is, could he get Kulusevski to a level where he's doing the job effectively off the ball enough to not leave us exposed? That's the question. I don't know the answer to that right now. The evidence that we've seen so far, I guess we haven't seen it because we haven't seen Kulusevski next to Maddison apart from the second half against Brentford, where it was good. But obviously, at latter stages of that game, we were open and we could have easily dropped points. So we don't know the answer to it right now. I think logic will probably state the balance might be way too far on the offensive side and will be too exposed. But I would love to see, in general, that midfield and how it would operate, because if he gets the balance right, that midfield would be very difficult to stop.
It would be I mean, you couldn't play that midfield surely against like a Man City or Arsenal or someone like that.
I mean, logically, no. But it probably not. But it depends. It depends how good they can be. Like, we've seen Man City, like, at their very best, like, in peak Pep years, they would play with two number 8s, two very attacking number 8s, and they would play Fernandinho, and then they played Kevin De Bruyne and David Silva. It was just they were so good, and also Kevin De Bruyne didn't have that lack of balance off the ball. He would put the hard yards in, and he had the fitness and the quality to cope with that position. So it meant they weren't exposed defensively.
They have the best CDM in Rodri in the league in that midfield.
That's the thing. Them. So it's about the balance. It's about whether Basuma can cope with it, whether Bentancur could cope with it, and whether Kulusevski would be able to do that off the ball. But I don't think necessarily tactically, like they wouldn't like it that. Tactic of two attacking number 8s wouldn't work. It's about the characteristics and whether they have those characteristics. I'm not 100% sure they do, but they might do. That
brings me back to the point I asked Ash then. Like, if we were to go that way and we had Maddison and Kulusevski in the midfield, would we not need like a specialised 6 behind them to protect them?
It's whether Basuma and Bentancur could do that job. Do we need a specialised 6? I think they can do the job, to be honest. I do think they can do the job. Obviously, they might have to cover a bit more ground, but I think they're capable of it once they're both fully fit and on form. I don't see a reason why they can't. Are they on Rodri's level? I mean, who is? But I think I don't see a reason why Basuma and Bentancur wouldn't be able to do that number 6 job if Maddison and Kulusevski are doing their jobs off the ball. They should be doing. Look, Silva and De Bruyne didn't just leave Fernandinho or Rodri to do it by themselves. They helped him out as well, and that's what you need to do. So it's about where Maddison and Kulusevski have the characteristics as well to do that. I do think Bentancur and Basuma can do it. I do.
I tend to agree, because it's not like we haven't seen Maddison, do defensive jobs off the ball. I know it might not to be like people.
He's very underrated at that.
That's what I'm saying to you. So Maddison off the ball, he is quite defensive. He tries to win the ball back. He's tenacious. I think Kulusevski does a lot of leg work, and when he was playing on the right wing, especially, he helps pour out a huge amount. Do you know what I'm saying? He does a lot of defensive work, and even in the middle, I think he is tenacious. He can win the ball back, and even Lo Celso, as much as people throw him under the bus, he's very tenacious. So I could actually see, I agree with Sim. If you've had like a Basuma or a Bentancur in a 6 at their best, at their peak, then you could afford maybe a Lo Celso and a Maddison interchanging in that position, because they actually do the work. They do press high. Even when we lose the ball, they do drop back into that, solid 4-4-2 block, when we try to frustrate teams at times. I think it can work, but I do agree with you, Ben. It depends on the team. Like, I wouldn't do that against a Man City, go fire for fire, because you might just get bun up. So yeah. I would prefer to do that against maybe a lower team in that lower half and see if they are frustrating us, or not even if they're frustrating us, we just go guns blazing from the start, because you just never know. We might just turn them over, and then we might just keep them in that, pin them in that in their own half. And I feel like when we pin teams in their own half, we don't have players that take risks, if that makes sense, to open teams up. So if you've got a creative 8 on your left and you've got a creative 8 on your right, they don't know what to do, because one guy's going to want to dribble, one guy's going to pass, but then one might do the reverse and vice versa, and we can pull teams out of position. So I'm all for it, and I'm hoping Ange's for it as well. I would love to see that amount of attacking football. So I want to see us destroy teams that go 4-5 and change the game again. Maybe it's too attacking it, because I think Pep only changed it because he realized that you need to be a little bit more physical for this Premier League. So that's the reason why he went for more, like, you're not really seeing what's his name, Foden as an 8, and you're seeing like a Grealish, because I thought Grealish was going to be an 8 and he put him as a winger, and I was like, wow, I'm surprised. I thought they're going to have Grealish and Foden being the 2 8s, and even Silva, I've seen him drop back. He's not always played him as an attacking 8. Do you know what I'm saying? So sometimes he plays them out wide. It depends. So I want us to get to that stage where some of our players can play on the wing, some of them can play on the 8, and some of them can drop back in the double pivot. Like, I want us to be that fluid.
James, where do you sit on this one? Would you like to see that much of an attacking midfield with Kulusevski and Maddison playing alongside each other?
Yeah, I'd love to see it, 100%. I think it was Sheffield United when he dropped him first time into the middle, that to break that block for 1-1, and he was just incredible, wasn't he? Very instrumental. Yeah, I'd love to see it. As a fan, I think that's what you want to see. Do you know, we can go through all these, and you're all of you absolutely right. And I even think about possibly we should look at a holding 6. But as a fan, what you want to see, 100%. That's a dream midfield, isn't it? With them players as well, and what they can unlock. I would love to see that on the tip. But you can't play that against probably Woolwich or City, the two probably teams you probably couldn't play that against. But that'd be so exciting to see, man. I mean, like, for me, Maddison's still a little bit off the boil, but I do agree that a lot of his defence work gets unnoticed, and it is quite incredible what he does there. But yeah, if you had that, and Kulu coming in, but then on the wings, I'm not sure if Johnson's quite there yet, really. So if Kulu does come in, who you got out there? I'd love to see us go and get Neto, to be honest, someone like that, and add him into the mix. That'd be amazing.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Go on.
It's going to be controversial, but I'm going to throw it out there.
Skip.
Ash,
you weren't saying that a month ago, Ash. I'll tell you that. You were not saying that a month ago.
I'm saying, do you reckon Son could be on the right wing, or is that a no-no?
Son on the right wing. I was saying this before to Sim. I was saying, I want to see the front three of Werner, Son, and Richarlison, and probably Sonny on the right and Werner on the left. But Sim thinks the other way around.
I think Werner on the right. The reason why is because I think when Sonny's on the left and he gets to the byline, he's got such a great left foot, right? That it can work, and he can whip a ball across the face of goal. I know Werner had a good assist with his left, but I don't think he's as good as left as Son. I think what Ange likes is his wingers getting to the byline and getting those cutbacks. I think if we're going to do that, I would much rather Son on the left and Werner on the right, because at least when Werner gets to the byline, he's on his strong foot rather than on his weaker foot. Whereas Son, even if he's on his weaker foot, is still very, very good. So that's why I would prefer Son on the left and Werner on the right. But what would you guys reckon?
About what you guys were saying before, though, about that fluidity, that interchangeable thing would be a dream.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
But going that and just moving across, and even didn't he have Richarlison on the wing at some point? Didn't he? I think he did.
He did. He did. He moved Sonny into the 9, and then Richarlison played on the left, didn't he?
That would be the answer for me. And I think Sonny's got the biggest conversion rate in the league, I think, for chances. So taking him away from the centre for too long, I don't know why we would do that. But I would like to see the fluidity of all.
I just, to add on to that, James, I'll put Son in the middle against the Highline team. I think he looks better. The high line, because he's got that pace in behind. I see Richarlison, as good as he's been, when he's trying to run for a ball, it's like that. No, that's not your skill set. Stay calm.
I'll tell you what it is with Richarlison, though. The amount of times he wins that ball back is incredible. I haven't seen that done for the last 2 or 3 games. He really wants this now, doesn't he? And I think that appetite of winning the ball back has been incredible.
A lot of people, though, throwing shade at Brennan Johnson, and he's not cut it. He hasn't been cutting it the last month or so, 100%. But just cast your mind back to Richarlison last year. Nobody think he could hit a barn door. No. He was terrible for the whole season last year. So people should bide their time with Brennan.
Definitely. What was Sonny's first season statistics? I don't think they would have been any good.
Not great either.
That first season wasn't great, was it? But yeah, I think the same. I didn't know a great deal about him, if I'm honest, until he came to us. Though I didn't watch him too many times at Forest. I knew he was fast. I knew he was good. The only thing I saw of him was when he booted Richarlison. That's the only time I kind of saw him. But yeah, I do think definitely give him time, based on the fact that he's had a few really good moments. He wants it. He loves playing at this club. But yeah, I think there's going to be competition now, isn't there? We're bringing Werner in, which is great.
Healthy competition.
Yeah.
Do you think Johnson's better off the bench as opposed to starting?
As of now, yes. Because he's not playing well enough. And I think when you saw him come off the bench, he made that run late at the far post, got that goal. And I think with coming on against tired legs, that pace is invaluable, isn't it? And he's got the attributes to be a proper super sub, in my opinion.
With Ash said about this, and he's right. I think with that, it's a certain player mentality, though, to be somebody who does sit on the bench, can be happy, and then come and explode. And like people like Richarlison, I don't think I've really got that. But I think that is what you need more than anything, really. That Ole Gunnar Solskjaer super sub mentality kind of stuff.
Yeah, but again, I don't think he was come here to start week in, week out straight away, Brennan Johnson. I think he was a work in progress, and I think that Kulusevski had the shirt on the right-hand side, and injuries in the midfield and everywhere else kind of forced our hand to play Brennan Johnson, where he got shunted out to the left at times on the right. And I think that you won't see the best of Brennan Johnson this season, and I think it's a work in progress, and you'll see it in the coming seasons, in my opinion.
I heard this as well. I don't know if it's true. I heard that I think the Brentford game, it was the first time that we'd won a game without Son and Kane for years. Is that
5 years? I think it is.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane, isn't it?
Yeah, it is insane.
That price tag kind of like blindsided a lot of people of the opinion that Johnson was going to be the main guy, because 50 was it? How much was
50
it?
50 million, yeah, 47.5.
7.5. Sorry, Sim. So yeah,
get it right, Ash. Come on.
2.5 million.
Hey, yeah. So 47. I think that price tag put maybe a little bit of pressure on him, changed the perception of the fans of what they thought he was brought in to be. And as you said, like maybe he wasn't bought as a starter. Maybe he was bought for maybe an intention for once for the future. They really like him. Obviously, you have to pay Prem tax, and you have to pay the the British tax as well. But if you took both of those things away, what is his true value? And
it's probably between 25 and 30 million, I would say. Yeah, I would say closer to 25. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, if we paid 25 million and he was like Bernardinho, I don't know, like a foreign name, I don't know. Maybe then we wouldn't pay that money. The expectation would be so much. And we had a fully fit team, then we would say, look, he's on the bench. We're not mad. He's doing the job like what you guys are saying for us for now. And like, let's hope, because he's 22 years old. Everyone's like, don't put his age into it. He's a big man. All right, bro, stay calm. Like, allow us. But yeah, maybe, like you lot were saying, give him a season to come and he might improve. He might get better. A lot of people aren't rating his technique. They just look at his technique and think it's not that. I just think his decision-making on where to be on the pitch affects him at times. I looked at where he was playing against Everton. Him and Porro was super close, and I felt like at times, if Porro's playing short, I need Johnson to be wide and high, and vice versa. If Johnson's coming short, then I kind of need Porro to be high and wide. And like I was talking about that fluidity, they need to have that understanding, and also the movement off the ball. I feel like Johnson needs to do that out to in, if that makes sense. So he needs to fake go one way and then go the other way to kind of lose his marker. And then you've got space, and then players can see you, and then we can hit that pass into, because how many times have we put it into Johnson's path? Not that many. So that tells me maybe his movement isn't the greatest. Either that or the midfielders on the pitch, they just haven't got the IQ or they're not seeing it. But yeah. I remember when KDB came back, and it was Newcastle at home versus City, and they interviewed him. They asked him, that pass, was it you that made the pass and then Oscar Bob makes the run, or is it Oscar Bob makes the run and then you make the pass? He said, no, Oscar Bob's got to make the run. If Oscar Bob makes the run, then I make the pass. If he doesn't do that run, I'm not making that pass. So then I look at Brennan Johnson and I'm like, bro, you need to look maybe at your movement. Sometimes run in that kind of pocket, the inside channel, sometimes pull wide, sometimes drop short, and then look at the in-game, how things are running in the team. If you're not seeing a lot of the ball, because sometimes you're like, why is Brennan not in the game? Well, that must mean that you're not in the right position for your teammates to see you, or you're not doing the right movements to lose your marker. In my opinion, that must be that, isn't it? Otherwise, like, why is he not getting the ball? Why is he not getting involved in the game? So for me, he needs to work on that. He's still a young lad. He needs coaching on that side, and he needs to watch himself back and study the videos where he has done well. Because there's been times when he's on the wing, he puts it on the floor, and Richarlison just is there to tap it in. He's done it 2 identical times. I think, I can't remember the games, but it was 2 identical times, and he's put it across the box.
Bournemouth and Everton.
That's it. And he's just, so that's what he needs to look at that video again and just study those movements and think, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's what I need to get back to, in my opinion.
You know what? I think you're right with the elements of making the runs from Brennan Johnson. But however, you do see Werner making those runs and him not being picked up consistently time and time again.
Oh, there you go.
You do.
And just to add to that as well, sorry to cut you. I like when players run across the fullback. Do you know what I'm saying? When you run across the fullback, when you do that angle and you run it, that the only thing left to do is shoot. I haven't seen him take enough shots, in my opinion, to like test the keeper, get on the end of things. And sometimes, if it's not his first touch that lets him down, it's his second touch. Do you know what I mean? He might have a great first touch and then second touch overhits it, or it's vice versa, the other way around. So he just needs to calm it down in his mind, because for me, that just screams out nerves and confidence. Calm it down, slow it down in your mind, and that's how you become ruthless, and that's how you become a killer. I think he's rushing it too much, in my opinion.
But also, a lot of the time, the elements with Brennan Johnson, he just needs more confidence in his own ability and his own strengths, because you see him, especially in that Everton game. I was sitting right there on that side where Brennan was, where the away fans obviously were. And he got the ball so many times in good areas where he was isolated one-on-one with his fullback. And every single time he checked back, either lost the ball or passed it backwards. And he needs confidence to take that ball and attack his fullback, go past him, knock it past him and run around the outside. He's got that ability. So I don't know why he doesn't use it. It really is frustrating at times.
And thing on that, isn't that's Ange's philosophy as well. He says to these players, he says, go for it. If you lose the ball, it's on me. You go for it. Go for the attack. That's part of his philosophy, isn't it? So that's a little bit concerned. It would obviously jump some of that into Brennan Johnson as well. But I think you're right. There's too much shade thrown his way, and definitely give him some time.
Absolutely. But let's finish off the panel talking about how bright the future is at Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, you saw Ashley Phillips last night for Plymouth. Yeah, they did end up losing 4-1 after extra time, but he did get an assist to his name. You're seeing Alfie Devine do bits out in Plymouth as well. The young players that we've got, I think average age of the squad is one of the youngest in the league at the moment. All these players coming through the academy as well. So, James, how bright is this future at Spurs?
Extremely, yeah. Especially those players you mentioned, and you've got like Dorrington and Mikey Moore's goal I saw the other day was just that was unbelievable. So having these players coming through on their own, I think the future is very, very bright. And then if you add into the mix that Liverpool went for Van der Ven, Man United obviously went for Werner. I know he's not one of the youngsters, but he's still young enough. Then you got that Lucas Bergvall could have gone to Barcelona, but Bayern Munich wanted Dragusin. I definitely apply a value to this could be the brightest in my lifetime for the future. This is quite insane. If you've got like these young players, these players out in loan, and I saw the three. There's that 16-year-old as well, that defender, Vuskovic. They're all like 6'4", 6'5" defenders already. I was about 5'2" at their age. You know what I mean? It was like there's insane depth here, and obviously they're smashing the leagues as well. I think it's under 21s. Are they top in the? Is it under 21s?
Not only are they top, they've got 100% record still in the league, which is mad.
Well, I watch quite a lot of Mikey Moore's stuff, and I'm very, very impressed with him. And I really do apply a value to the fact that there's a big reason why these players are choosing their career moves at that age to come to play for Tottenham, the way that we're playing. And also, I'd imagine that they have a look at all the facilities around us and little things like this that mean a lot to a player, how they're looked after. I think I would go as far as to say, in my lifetime, this is the brightest I've seen our future, with all them elements involved, and the proof is in the pudding of players like Dragishin and Lucas Bergvall turning down massive opportunities. Like, imagine that from seeing some of the biggest clubs in the world to come to play for it. And if it happens again and again, there's no smoke without fire. There's a big reason. And and I apply a value. I really do. This is the brightest future that I've seen in my lifetime at Spurs.
It's mad, isn't it? Because like you go back 10, even 5, 10, 20, however long you want to go back for, you would never have said any young up-and-coming player with a big future ahead of him is going to reject the likes of Barcelona, reject the likes of Bayern Munich, even reject Man United to come to Tottenham Hotspur. And is that a sign, Ash, that the future is just incredibly bright here?
Yeah, I think the perception of the club maybe from these youngsters has changed somewhat since, Ange and Academy's been switched around and we've restructured the way the club is. I think perception is everything, Yeah, like we're not winning trophies and we're not, like winning leagues and stuff. But at the same time, they actually believe in the project, what we're building here. They think there's something special on here. And I think that's the reason why they're all, buying into it. A lot of these players now, I remember the wage structure was an issue at one point, and that's why a lot of the youngsters were leaving to go to other clubs because they were paying out. And credit to the club, they changed that, and I think Paratici was a big reason for that. I think when Ange came in, I think he helped with the academy side of things, playing football the way we want to play, attacking, front-footed, and players at all levels all got behind it, and all of a sudden they're excited. There's a buzz, there's an energy around the club, around the staff, the dinner lady, the people that are the kit man, everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet. And so, no puns there, but yeah, literally, I just thought the youngsters coming in now, they're like, yeah, you know what? It's all about Spurs. There's a lot of Spurs young fans out there as well. I'm noticing we've got a strong young fan base at the moment. Loads of kids are choosing Spurs for whatever reason. So I honestly think that the future is bright for Spurs. And I go back to what James is saying, like Mikey Moore, he looks like a talent and a half. The first few clips I saw of him, he was like popping shots off outside the box. I was like, wow, how much ability, how much confidence has this kid got in himself? Now I'm seeing him do it week in, week out for the actual team. I'm like, listen, this guy's actually, he's not a flash in the pan. Like some players, I feel like they get overhyped, everyone's like, we've got our Tom Carroll, we've got our Winks.
Jake Livermore.
We've got our Jake Livermore. We've got, what I mean? We've got Mason.
Stephen Corker.
Yeah, so the list goes on. And we hype up, we gas up all these young kids, and they don't quite hit the heights. But I genuinely believe that these guys, they've got something about them. They've got that raw technical ability that I've been battering about the whole show. But I can see the end product. They believe in themselves. They're brave, and the coaches are encouraging it.
Yeah,
I hate it when I be like, you see like coaches, not there, too much. Why are you doing that? No, pass it backward. I used to hate that. These coaches seem like they're new. They're kind of, the philosophy is more like, turn out, play with your chest up, open up, play forward, expansive. That's the type of language they're using. And players are seeing that and are thinking, you know what, hang on, I think there's something cooking. I'm going to come to join Spurs. And Bergvall, what a player he looks like in terms of like technical capability. But even that clip that's going viral at the moment, when he's talking to the kids, like he's talking to his teammate, he's a captain, and he's firing them up. I was gassed. I was like, yeah, I'm going to play. He said, don't say the name. I said, what? Is this a clip from 300? We're in Barcelona, it doesn't matter. I said, yeah, listen, if he's talking like that in the dressing room, listen, look, the future is it's not bright. We need to put shades on like Ray Charles. Right.
Also, what do you think on with the youngsters? Do you reckon there's some sort of Kane effect where they've seen one of our own obviously go through and become England captain? If you're a youngster at Spurs, you're thinking, I can do this. I can do
100%. He's the benchmark, isn't he?
Yeah.
They probably have pictures of him around the whole of the academy saying, if you put the work in as much as this guy, maybe you can reach those levels one day. 100%, he's the benchmark.
Can you imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine going to the stadium as a kid for the first time when Kane was playing and hearing "He's one of us"?
Yeah,
he's one of us. Like, it's a mad feeling. Like, so I reckon, yeah, James is spot on. I agree. He put the foundations in for kids coming in.
And I think as well, when we improved the training ground in I think it was 2012, it was always going to take a bit of a while to really take effect when it comes to really good quality young players coming through the academy and taking advantage of those facilities. And I think hopefully we're now starting to see that, because the academy just absolutely seems chock-a-block full of talent right now in terms of players who are making an impact, want to make an impact in the first team as well. Even we mentioned players like Jamie Donnelly, Sunsop Bell, Santiago's having a great season at the moment. Lancashire, like all these players at the moment, maybe we're finally seeing the full vision of this training ground being able to develop really good young quality players, which I think if you ask Levy what his dream is if we're able to develop our own players, that's probably what his dream would be. Because imagine you wouldn't have to buy players, you actually develop it through your academy. And that's how, you look at Barcelona when they had La Masia. Well, they still obviously have La Masia, but like that's how they got the best team in like one of the best teams in history, like Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, all being developed, Puyol, all being developed from their own academy, and they're able to bring them all through. And that's like, I think, when you talk about a vision of Daniel Levy from a business standpoint, investing in the academies, and so you can have good young players coming through those academies instead of actually having to spend 40, 50, 60 million on new signings. That would be his kind of wet dream, I think. That would probably be his ultimate vision of what he would love at this football club. So I'm loving the fact that we've got these unbelievable young talents come through the academy, and I'm loving the fact that when we're looking at the transfer market, we're being smart with future moves, like Udogie and Sarr, signing them, loading them back, and then having them come through the first team. Bergvall now coming in. You've got Phillips, Devine all out on, and Josh Keeley out on loan at the moment, playing very, very well. So I'm looking everywhere among the team. I'm looking at centre backs, I'm looking at midfielders, I'm looking at forwards, and there just seems to be loads of talent coming through for the next generation. And maybe that would mean as well, if a player does want to leave in the future, we're not as worried about it as we would be like finding a replacement, all these things, if we do have players coming through, young players who are ready to step into those positions. Because it feels like in years gone by, we've been super worried about players leaving and hanging on to players and things like that. And maybe that won't be the case going forward, where we'd have to hang on to an unhappy player. So I'm super excited about the future of the team. It seems that there's a real strategy in place there. It looks like we're really thinking about the future, where it seems as though in years gone by, that's something that's definitely been neglected. And it definitely feels like that's not being neglected at the moment.
And also, it's very important to have that pathway from the academy to the first team, which we haven't had for so many years, right? Just take, for example, Noni Madueke, who's ended up going out to Holland and coming back to Chelsea. And I think he looks like a decent player, Noni Madueke, if he had some good management behind him, to be fair. But no shade at Poch. But I think he had to leave. He felt like he had to leave because there was no pathway from the academy to the first team at that moment in time. And now with Anchir, now with all these prospects coming through, you feel like that pathway is there now, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. Over like Mourinho and Conte, where they didn't really give the youngsters much go at all. You can visualise it, can't you? The pathway's right in front of you. I totally agree with that.
All right, well, at least we can all agree the future is bright. The future is lily white. Ash, get those shades at the ready. But that is it from us today. I want to thank both of you guys for coming on today. Thank you all out in the live chat as well. But James, tell the people where they can find you.
So on social media, it's at The Voice of Spurs, and that's across Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, all of them. And I play at the stadium on home games. So for the next game for Brighton, I will be at White Hart Bar, which is East Stand, level 5, block 525, like playing all the classics and some new songs too.
James,
New
last time I
ones.
tried to come and watch you, I think it was before the Chelsea game, was the last time I tried to come, and I just literally just couldn't get in. So many people. The crowd that you pull is absolutely insane. So keep up the great work. Yeah.
Thank you so much, man.
Who are the new songs about? If you could just tease it. Like, do you have any names?
I've got a Madison one, new one, and I've got one that's just digging out one of our rivals. This seems to be going down quite well. I'm showing it to a few people here and that. So there's a couple, but there's a few more as well. There's a different Werner one that I've looked at as well. That I played at the last game, and some of the fans took to it straight away. So there's a few.
You must be so chuffed with how big that the Angels song has got. Like, they play it at the end of every single game now. It's mad.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, mate. That's just the pinnacle. That's all you really want to happen, really, is like the whole stadium Spurs fans singing your song. Once it happens, it's like you just chill. I think you just think, that's great. That's something forever for me. But I always keep going and writing new stuff and that. But that's all I wanted to happen, really. It's the pinnacle of one of. It's more important to me than Robbie singing it. Is the Spurs fans singing it. I mean, it's. I'm Tottenham, like I say to you, over absolutely everything. I'm obsessed with Tottenham. So, I mean, the first time I heard it was when we scored the last-minute winner against Sheffield United, and I was on my knees already, like just so happy. And then I hear the whole stadium singing my lyrics. It's like I don't think I can ever. I just stood there silent, and as you can tell from these panel shows, that takes quite a lot. Mate's just looking at me. I just didn't know what to say, really, to be honest. Yeah, but I mean, Spurs fans are the best in the world, and they'll tell you if a song's good or not. It's been insane, and the crowds have gone to crazy new levels. It was building from, because I did the Champions League song in 2019. It was building from that nice, but now it's levels where they're all I can't really see around to the back of it. To be honest, it's fun.
And definitely think like your injection of just like new energy when it comes to these new songs this season has definitely added an extra element as well in terms of the fan base. So I do want to commend you for all the great work that you do. I hope you carry it on. It's really added something special for this season because we've needed some more songs, basically. Let's be honest. That we've seen the same. I
said it to you. Like, we need to be more original. I can't just hit when the Spurs go marching in and that's it.
Yeah. So like,
just changing the lyrics and that.
Exactly. So like, I thank you so much for the great work you've put in like writing these songs and getting them to the forefront because it's really added something special to this season and hopefully going forward.
You guys have helped me as well, like by putting me out there and everything. I really appreciate that. You guys are everything to me. Your shows are amazing, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you so much, and thank you for coming on. But Ash, tell the people where they can find you. I hear you've got under a little bit of a rebrand.
Yeah, we've switched it up a little bit. We were Southview Boys, but now we are Spurs Kings, man. We're Spurs Kings right now.
The Spurs Kings.
We're Spurs Kings right now. So the phone's out. I need to see some subscriptions right now. Add it up.
Is that across all channels? What's that on? Is that on YouTube?
That's our YouTube channel. Yeah, that's my YouTube channel. There's three of us that we host it or different times, but it's me, my boy Marlon, and Hass. We do the shows, post-match shows. I did a show last night and I just talk about Spurs a little bit more, talk about rumors and stuff, who we're linked with, blah blah blah. Tonight I'm doing a rival show, kind of get other rivals' opinions about Spurs and kind of get feedback. And yeah, man, that's what's going on at the moment. Like we're going through the rebrand, as I said, so we're gonna have a few more different ideas coming out. I might have to remix some of your songs, James. I'm a DJ.
Yeah, man, yeah, let's do it.
I might have to cut up a little bit different, put a little reverb on your voice and mix it up. But that's what we're doing. But everyone's welcome to jump on the show whenever they want. I'm always looking for guests as well. So, but yeah, man, big up to everyone. Thanks for having me on, Simon Ben. Nice to meet you, James, and big up to that as well. And to the viewers, the silent listeners, I'm one of those. So big you guys at home watching it on TV or on your mobiles.
All right. Well, nice one. Really good panel. Thank you guys once again for coming on. We'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
come on, you Spurs.